Welcome, 7th grade. This was originally supposed to be part of lesson 10-4 that was done yesterday, or excuse me, Thursday, but I felt like there was a lot there, so we didn't go through it. We work on the surface area of prisms. Now I am going to go back just one slide here real quick to refresh. The other day we looked at the surface area of prisms. Today we're looking at cylinders. With prisms, we want to find the area of the base. The base of the two shapes that are the same. This rectangle and the rectangle back here, they are the same. Alright? Therefore, we took, and I'm going to get rid of some of these extra numbers here so they're not so confusing, the 10 times the 8, and we got the area of this figure. But since we said there's one exactly like it on the other end, we multiplied by 2. Oh. So 80 for this side, 80 for that side, we get 160 for both sides. Then we need the other 1, 2, 3, 4 items. So this 36, this is the perimeter of the base. 10 plus 8 plus 10 plus 8 gets 36. That's the perimeter of that base. Then we multiply that times the height. What that does is it essentially turns that rectangle shape, or excuse me, this perimeter into the edge of a rectangle, and the length is the edge of a rectangle. And we can multiply in that 36 times 14 and get the perimeter of all the sides at once. Some of you have said, oh, I'm going to do the area of each side. You can do that. I would suggest this because it is the same each and every time with each and every shape. Now we move on. Oh, I've got to click through all that. The lateral area of a cylinder, that would be the lateral area from the circle to the circle, all right, is a curved surface that connects the two bases. Now, if I were to cut one line down this and unfold it, do you see how it creates a rectangle? All right, that's the same thing we were trying to achieve and were achieving with our prisms. So, we are going to work on this. Now notice, if I cut this and unfold it, the length of this, 2 pi r. 2 pi r is the circumference of the circle. Do you see how that top lip goes all the way around the circle? And if I cut it and open it up, it would be the circumference of the circle. That length would be. So you're going to see that a lot. So you need to remember 2 pi r circumference. Pi r squared is the area. And just like yesterday, I'm going to suggest you step out your work. Okay? So, they show you this formula, and that's a good one because it brings in everything we just talked about. Or it's at the same as before. 2 times the area of the base plus the circumference or perimeter of the base times the height. They put an L in there because they already say you should know circumference of base times the height. That'll be represented by L. I like to write it out for you. So the surface area for cylinders is take 2 times the area of the bases. The base is the circle, so if we find the area of one, we multiply it by 2. That gives us both of them. Then we find the circumference of that base, and we take it times the height. When we add those two together, we have the complete and total surface area. So here, I'm going to work on our process. I know I'm taking 2 times pi r squared. This is going to be the area of the base, because this is how you find the area of that circle. And then there's not one circle, but 2 circles that are exactly the same. So I take 2 times that. All right? Then I'm going to add in the circumference of this circle. Well, how I find the circumference of the circle is 2 times the radius times pi, all right, or diameter times pi. So in this case, that would be 12, because 2 times 6 is 12, times pi. And if I want to, this r squared, I can put in 36 here. Because isn't 6 times 6, that's what r squared means, 36. Now I'm ready to do my math. So, 72 times 3.14 plus 12 times 3.14. Once I do that math, and you're welcome to use a calculator, I'll have my two numbers, I add them together, and I'll get my total answer. Let's see if that's what they did. All right, use the formula. They put it all out here. 2 times pi r squared. This is area. This 2 is here because there's two circles. This is circumference. The 2 pi r, that's circumference. And then times the height. You literally have to plug numbers in and then do the math. When we plug numbers in, the 2 is from above. The 3.14 from above. R squared becomes 6 squared. The radius we plugged in. Okay? The 2 is from above. 3.14 from above. Radius is 6. Height, 8.3. Okay? You plugged all those numbers in, and now we're ready to do our math. We must remember PEMDAS. Gotta do square roots first. So, they did the square root, 36 times 2 times 3.14, and they got 226.08. Then they did 2 times 3.14 times 6 times 8.3, and they got 312.74. 538.824. I'm very happy if you leave it at that answer, but we do need to add, since it's feet and we're doing surface area, feet squared. All right, 538.8. Notice they just rounded to the tenths place, and we have our answer. This next one, we have these items here. Let's look at the formula. It is wise and helpful to write out the formula. Then I'm just plugging stuff in. Oh, R is for radius. I know for radius I put in 9, and it was squared, so I got to square the 9. R is 9. Height is 20. And I know since these letters are all next to each other, that means I multiply them. We keep going. So let's see if they plug in the same items. 2 times 3.14 times 9 squared. Yes. 2 times 3.14 times 9 times 20. Yes. You've got it right. Now you simply have to do the math. Remembering, must square first, then multiply. So I'm going to take 81 times 3.14 times 2. And I'm going to take 2 times 3.14 times 9 times 20. When doing that, we get 508 for this first section. And for that second section, we get 1,130.4. We add those together, and then we get 1,639.08. All right, and the surface area of the cylinder is about that, feet squared. All right. Now, then they want to throw in this. I think of a log cabin. I'm thinking of the two different areas. The playhouse is a composite figure with a floor and no windows. What is the surface area of the playhouse? They become kind of a pain because I know I have to find this edge, the one on the other, the two triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4. I only have to find bits and pieces and parts of this. So let's see what they walk through, and I want you to do your best. If you complete it, and I can see effort, you are going to get credit, and if we come back, we will talk about this, okay? So they're going to make a plan. Draw nets of the figures that show. So this is like where we cut it apart. Oh, this is if we cut it apart. We don't need that top or that roof. That's why that one spot is blanked out there. And again, we have a white spot. That's a blanked out spot because that's where the prism and the triangular prism meet. The rectangular and triangular prism meet. Now, let's find the surface area of the rectangle. Okay? So, they took 3 times 4, that gets us 12. That was for the bottom floor. 14, which is the perimeter, times the length, 2. And that's going to get us 40 feet for those 2 figures. Okay? Remember, you're trying your best on these. I'm happy to see and talk about, and I'm going to mark down where things are. When we come back, we'll be able to focus on this. All right? Then, we do the surface area for the triangular prism. So, we've got the area for the base times the height. Then we've got the perimeter times length times width. All right, we do their formula, and they get 26. Okay? When we add the 26 and the 40, we're going to get our answer. 66 feet is less than 80, so the answer is reasonable. And that would be if we did the answer with all surface areas. So, since the 2 were covered up, we didn't have to consider them. All right. Again, we have a similar composite figure. Sometimes with these, it makes the most sense to just do the individual figures. Oh, that's a 4-foot by 5-foot triangle. That's 20. Okay, so 4 times 5 divided by 2. That's 20, and that equals 10. So I know this triangle is 10. I know the triangle on the other side is 10. So 10 plus 10, that's the 2 triangles. I've taken care of those. Now for this item right here, this is a equilateral triangle, we're going to say. All right, with that, well, actually it's not an equilateral triangle. So we have to, oh, it's 5 feet on the side, yes. So 5 feet by, how do I know what this is? Oh, the 8 here, and it's a rectangle, so this is 8. So 5 times 8 is 40, and there's a 40 on the other side. So we add 40 and 40 for that, okay? Then for the front of this house, we have 6, and the height is 4. So that would be 24 for this area, and there's 1 in the back, so we add 24 and 24, oh, excuse me, to that problem. Then I look at the side. This side would be 4 by 8. That's a 32. There's another side over here that matches, so plus 32 plus 32. Those 2 meet, and they're wanting to know the surface area of the bottom as well because that comes in with a floor. So there is a floor. We do want to know that surface area of the floor. Now if we get real technical, we shouldn't worry about the door, but we're not that good yet. So 6 times 8 for that bottom rectangle, and we get 48. And when we add all these together, 20, 60, 100. All right, so that's 100. I know those 2 added together are 48. And 48 is 96. So I group these all together. I group these all together. These 2 are 64. So when I look at this, that would be 160. That's 100. 260. So this was me not really following their pattern, but looking at each individual shape on the outside. You can do that, but you have to make sure you don't forget any. And sometimes, especially when you have those area and spaces that go away, like the bottom of the triangular prism, the top of the rectangular prism, that does help. So 260 is the answer that we worked with and came up with by doing each side. Let's see how their plan works out. Excuse me. There's the plan they wrote out. Their formula is a little bit different than mine. So they draw the net, leaving different areas blank that are blocked out. The top of the triangular rectangular prism, bottom of the triangular prism. All right, they do the surface areas of each of these. All right, 160. Hey, we came up with that number, didn't we? All right. When they do all that, they come up with 104. It looks like I may have forgotten something somewhere. All right, so to find the surface area, 160 plus 104. All right, they had 264. Looks like I made a slight error somewhere. All right, or they did. If anybody wants to prove me right, that's great. If anybody wants to prove me wrong, well, I guess you can tell me about that too. All right, so we look at that, and that would be a reasonable answer. Because we take those two sides out, it's less than the 320 that it would normally be. All right. Work hard, ask questions if you need to. You know how to get a hold of me, and be ready for everything online.